two coworkers named Ryan and Timothy. They work at the same company. They earn the same salary, $75,000 per year. They started the same day, 5 years ago. Both of them want to build wealth. Both of them read about investing. Both of them want to retire comfortably someday. But they took very different paths. Ryan got excited about investing. He opened a brokerage account immediately. He bought stocks. He bought cryptocurrency. He even tried options trading. Ryan felt smart. He was in the game. He was building wealth. Or so he thought. Timothy did something different. Timothy followed a boring, step-by-step process. He did not buy any stocks for the first 2 years. Instead, he focused on things that did not feel exciting at all. 5 years later, let us compare their situations. Ryan has $12,000 in his brokerage account. He also has $8,000 in credit card debt from when his car broke down. He has no emergency fund. His employer offers matching retirement contributions, but Ryan only contributes 2% because he wants more money for his stock picks. Ryan's actual net worth, about $4,000. Timothy has something very different. Timothy has no debt. Zero. Timothy has an emergency fund with $15,000. Timothy has maxed out his employer match every year. With the match and investment growth, his 401k has over $60,000. Timothy also has a Roth IRA with $28,000. Timothy's net worth, over $100,000. Same salary, same starting point. 5 years. Ryan has $4,000. Timothy has over $100,000. The difference was not luck. It was not stock picking skill. It was order. Timothy invested his money in the right order. Ryan invested his money in the wrong order. Today I am going to show you the exact order you should invest your money. This is not glamorous, but this is what actually builds wealth. If you want to understand the step-by-step process that separates people who build real wealth from people who just play at investing, subscribe and hit the like button. Before I show you the steps, I need to explain why order matters. Think about building a house. You cannot put up walls before you pour the foundation. You cannot install a roof before the walls exist. You cannot hang pictures before you have walls to hang them on. There is an order. If you skip steps, the house falls down. Money works the same way. If you invest in the stock market while you have credit card debt at 22% interest, you are building walls on sand. The debt will eat your gains. The math will never work. If you invest in a taxable brokerage account while ignoring your employer's matching contributions, you are leaving free money on the table. Real money. Money that would have doubled your investment instantly. If you put money in a regular savings account while ignoring tax-advantaged retirement accounts, you are paying taxes you did not need to pay. The government thanks you, but your future self will not. Morgan Housel wrote about this in his book, The Psychology of Money. He explained that getting wealthy is not about making brilliant investment picks. It is about doing reasonable things consistently over time. The right order is reasonable. It is boring. It is also incredibly powerful. J.L. Collins put it simply, in The Simple Path to Wealth. He said that building wealth is simple. Not easy, but simple. The steps are clear. Most people just refuse to follow them. The first step is not investing. The first step is protection. Before you put a single dollar into the stock market, you need an emergency fund. Let me tell you about a woman named Brittany. Brittany was 27 years old. She earned $62,000 per year. She was excited about investing. She opened a Roth IRA and started putting money into index funds. Brittany felt responsible. She was building for the future. Then her car's transmission died. The repair cost $3,200. Brittany did not have an emergency fund. She had about $400 in her checking account. What did Brittany do? She sold her investments at a loss because the market happened to be down. She paid taxes and penalties on early withdrawal from her retirement account. The $3,200 repair actually cost Brittany over $5,000 when you count the losses, taxes, and penalties. Brittany had to start over from zero. This is what happens when you skip the emergency fund. According to a 2024 survey from Bankrate, only 44% of Americans can cover an unexpected $1,000 expense from savings. More than half would need to borrow money or sell something. The Federal Reserve found that the median emergency savings in America is just $500. That is less than most people's monthly car payment. Dave Ramsey talks about this constantly in the Total Money Makeover. He calls the emergency fund Baby Step 1. Before anything else, save $1,000 as fast as possible. Then work toward 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Here's how I recommend building your emergency fund. Phase 1. Save $1,000 as fast as you can. Cut expenses, sell things you do not need. Pick up extra work. Get to $1,000 quickly. This covers most small emergencies, a car repair, a medical copay, a broken appliance. Phase 2. Save 1 month of living expenses. Calculate what you actually spend each month on necessities. Rent, utilities, food, transportation, insurance. Save that amount. Phase 3. Build 2-3 months of expenses. This protects you from job loss and major emergencies. Phase 4. Eventually reach 6 months of expenses. This is true financial security. But here is the key insight most people miss. Your emergency fund is not just about the money. It is about the psychology. Vanguard research found that people with at least $2,000 in emergency savings scored 21% higher on financial well-being measures than those without any savings. That was the biggest boost of any financial factor they studied. When you have an emergency fund, you make better decisions. You do not panic. You do not sell investments at the worst time. You do not put emergencies on credit cards. The emergency fund is the foundation. Everything else is built on top of it. Once you have your basic emergency fund of $1,000, the next step is to destroy high-interest debt. I am talking about credit card debt, personal loans, payday loans, anything charging you more than about 8% interest. Let me tell you about a man named Derek. Derek earned $80,000 per year. He considered himself financially savvy. He invested $500 per month into the stock market. Derek also had $9,000 in credit card debt at 21% interest. Derek felt like he was making progress. He was investing, after all. Let us look at the math. The stock market historically returns about 7 to 10% per year, on average. Let us say Derek earns 8% on his investments. Derek invests $500 per month. Over 1 year, he invests $6,000 and maybe earns about $400 in returns. Meanwhile, his $9,000 credit card debt is charging 21% interest. That is about $1,890 in interest per year. Derek's investments gained $400. His debt cost him $1,890. Derek lost almost $1,500 overall. He went backwards while thinking he was moving forward. This is why eliminating high-interest debt comes before investing. Paying off debt with a 21% interest rate is like earning a guaranteed 21% return on your money. No investment can guarantee that. Warren Buffett, one of the greatest investors ever, has averaged about 20% returns over his career. Paying off your credit card matches or beats Warren Buffett's returns. And it is guaranteed. Here's the strategy for paying off debt. List all your debts. Write down the balance and interest rate for each one. Pay the minimum on every debt. This keeps you from falling behind. Put every extra dollar toward the debt with the highest interest rate. This is called the debt avalanche method. It saves you the most money, mathematically. Once the highest interest debt is paid off, take that payment and add it to the next highest. The payments avalanche down the list. Some people prefer the debt snowball method, where you pay off the smallest balance first, regardless of interest rate. Dave Ramsey recommends this because the psychological wins keep you motivated. Either method works. The important thing is to have a system and stick to it. Let me tell you about Derek again. Derek finally understood the math. He stopped investing temporarily. He put that $500 per month toward his credit card debt instead. In 18 months, Derek was debt-free. Then he resumed investing. But now his investments could actually grow without debt eating the gains. 3 years after becoming debt-free, Derek had over $40,000 invested, plus no debt, plus an emergency fund. The pause in investing cost him nothing. The debt elimination changed everything. Here is where things get interesting. There is one exception to the pay off debt before investing rule. If your employer offers matching contributions to your retirement plan, you should get that match, even while you are paying off debt. Let me explain why. Employer matching is free money. Literally free. Let us say your employer matches 50 cents for every dollar you contribute, up to 6% of your salary. If you earn $60,000 and contribute 6%, $3,600 per year, your employer adds $1,800 for free. That is an instant 50% return on your money. Before any investment gains, no credit card debt, no matter how high the interest rate, can compete with a 50% instant return. Ramit Sethi explains this perfectly in I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He says the employer match is the closest thing to free money you'll ever get. Taking it is not optional. It is mandatory. Let me tell you about a woman named Ashley. Ashley had student loan debt, about $32,000 at 6% interest. Ashley decided to pause her 401k contributions until her debt was paid off. She thought she was being responsible. Here's what Ashley did not realize. Her employer matched 100% of contributions up to 3% of her salary. Ashley earned $55,000 by not contributing 3%, $1,650. Ashley missed out on $1,650 in free matching money every single year. Over 5 years of paying off her student loans, Ashley lost over $8,000 in free money, plus all the investment growth that money would have earned. Ashley meant well, but she made an expensive mistake. Here is the rule. Contribute exactly enough to get the full employer match. Not more, not less, for now. If your employer matches up to 6%, contribute 6%. If your employer matches up to 3%, contribute 3%. Get every dollar of free money available to you, then put the rest of your extra money toward high-interest debt. Once the high-interest debt is gone, you can increase your retirement contributions beyond the match. This is the optimal order. It captures the guaranteed return of debt payoff, while also capturing the free money of employer matching. Remember, we started with a $1,000 emergency fund. That was just phase 1. After you have eliminated high-interest debt and secured your employer match, go back and build your emergency fund to its full size. This means 3 to 6 months of living expenses. Calculate your monthly necessities: rent or mortgage payment, utilities, groceries, transportation, insurance, minimum debt payments, other essentials. Add these up. Multiply by 3 for a basic emergency fund. Multiply by 6 for extra security. Let me tell you about a man named Marcus. Marcus lost his job unexpectedly. The company downsized. He had 2 weeks' notice. Marcus had 6 months of expenses saved, about $21,000. Marcus did not panic. He did not sell his investments. He did not rack up credit card debt. Marcus spent 4 months finding the right job. Not just any job, the right job. One that paid better than his previous position. Marcus's emergency fund gave him options. It gave him power. It gave him time. His coworker, Justin, also lost his job. Justin had $800 in savings. Justin took the first job he could find. It paid less than his previous job. He was miserable, but he had bills to pay and no cushion. Same situation, different outcomes. The difference was the emergency fund. Morgan Housel writes about this in The Psychology of Money. He says that the highest form of wealth is the ability to wake up every morning and say, I can do whatever I want today. An emergency fund is the first step toward that kind of freedom. Now we enter what I call the tax optimization zone. After your emergency fund is complete, the next step is maximizing your individual retirement account, or IRA. Why does the IRA come before putting more money in your 401k? Control and cost. Your employer's 401k plan is chosen by your employer. You get whatever investment options they've decided to offer. These are often expensive mutual funds with high fees. According to a 2023 study from the Center for Retirement Research at Boston College, the average 401k plan charges fees of about 0.50% annually. Some plans charge over 1%. With an IRA, you choose your own investments. You can buy low-cost index funds that charge 0.03% to 0.10%. That fee difference might sound small. It is not. Let me show you with a simple example. You invest $10,000 for 30 years at 7% annual return with 0.10% fees. IRA with low-cost index funds, you end up with about $74,000. With 1.00% fees expensive 401k, you end up with about $57,000. That is $17,000 lost to fees on just $10,000 invested. Over a career of investing, the difference can be hundreds of thousands of dollars. For 2025, you can contribute up to $7,000 to an IRA. If you are 50 or older, you can contribute $8,000. Now, you need to decide between a traditional IRA and a Roth IRA. Traditional IRA, you deduct contributions from your taxes now. Your money grows tax-free. You pay taxes when you withdraw in retirement. Roth IRA, you pay taxes now on your contributions. Your money grows tax-free. You pay zero taxes when you withdraw in retirement. The question is simple. Do you want to pay taxes now or later? Here is the general guidance. If you are early in your career and earning less than you expect to earn later, choose Roth. You pay taxes at a low rate. Now your withdrawals in retirement are completely tax-free. If you are in your peak earning years and in a high tax bracket, Choose traditional. You get a tax deduction now, when it is most valuable. You pay taxes later, when you might be in a lower bracket. If you are not sure, do both. Many people split their contributions between traditional and Roth. This is called tax diversification. It gives you options in retirement. J.L. Collins recommends this approach in The Simple Path to Wealth. He says nobody knows what tax rates will be in 30 years. Having both types of accounts gives you flexibility. This is the step that most people completely miss. If you have a high-deductible health plan, HDHP, you have access to something incredible: a health savings account, or HSA. The HSA might be the most powerful investment account in America. Here is why. Most accounts give you one tax benefit, maybe two. Traditional 401k, tax deduction now, taxed later. Roth IRA, taxed now, tax-free later. The HSA gives you three tax benefits. 1. Tax deduction on contributions. The money goes in before taxes. 2. Tax-free growth. Your investments grow without any taxes. 3. Tax-free withdrawals. When you use the money for medical expenses, you pay zero taxes. No other account gives you tax benefits going in, while growing, and coming out. Let me tell you about a couple named Scott and Emily. Scott and Emily are both 30 years old. They have a high-deductible health plan through Scott's employer. They max out their HSA every year. For 2025, families can contribute $8,550. They invest their HSA money in index funds. They do not touch it for current medical expenses. Instead, they pay medical bills from their regular checking account and keep the receipts. Here is the magic part. There is no time limit on reimbursing yourself from an HSA. Scott paid $300 for a doctor visit in 2025. He kept the receipt. In 2055, when Scott is 60 years old, he can reimburse himself that $300 from his HSA, completely tax-free. Meanwhile, that $300 has been invested and growing for 30 years. If the HSA earns 7% annually, that $300 becomes over $2,200. Scott and Emily are building a pile of tax-free money that will cover their medical expenses in retirement. According to Fidelity, the average 65-year-old couple retiring today will need over $315,000 for healthcare costs throughout retirement. That is a massive expense. An HSA can make it tax-free. After age 65, HSAs become even more flexible. You can withdraw money for any purpose. If you use it for non-medical expenses, you pay income tax like a traditional IRA. But for medical expenses, it is still completely tax-free. If you have access to an HSA, maxing it out should be a priority. Once you have maxed your IRA and HSA, return to your employer's 401k and contribute beyond the match. You can contribute up to $23,500 to a 401k. If you are 50 or older, you can contribute up to $31,000. Combined with the IRA and HSA, you could potentially shelter over $39,000 from taxes every year. That is serious money that gets to compound without the government taking a cut each year. Let me tell you about a man named Gregory. Gregory earns $110,000 per year. He is 40 years old. Gregory maxes out everything. 401k $23,500 IDA, $7,000 HSA, $4,300 individual coverage. Total tax advantage savings, $34,800 per year. Gregory is sheltering almost 32% of his gross income from taxes every year. By the time Gregory is 60, assuming 7% annual returns, his tax-advantaged accounts will hold over $2 million. And Gregory is not doing anything fancy. He is just maxing out the accounts available to him, in the right order, consistently. Thomas Stanley studied wealthy people for his book, The Millionaire Next Door. He found that most millionaires are not celebrities or tech founders. They are ordinary people who saved consistently in tax-advantaged accounts for decades. Gregory is on that path. Finally, after you have maxed out every tax-advantaged option, you can invest in regular taxable brokerage accounts. Most people want to start here. It feels exciting. You can buy individual stocks. You can trade whenever you want. There are no contribution limits, but taxable accounts should come last. Here is why. In a taxable account, you pay taxes on your gains every year. Dividends get taxed. When you sell for a profit, you pay capital gains taxes. This is called tax drag. It slows down your wealth building. Let me show you the difference. Imagine you invest $500 per month for 30 years at 7% return. In a tax-advantaged account, no tax drag, you end up with about $567,000. In a taxable account with tax drag of about 1 to 2% annually from dividends and rebalancing, you end up with about $450,000. That is over $100,000 lost to tax drag. This is why taxable accounts come last. You only use them after you have filled all your tax-advantaged buckets. But taxable accounts do have advantages. No contribution limits. You can invest as much as you want. No withdrawal restrictions. You can access your money anytime without penalties. Flexibility. You can use the money for any purpose, at any age. If you are saving for a house down payment in 5 years, use a taxable account or high-yield savings. If you want to retire early before age 59 and a half, you will need taxable accounts to bridge the gap until you can access retirement accounts. The key is to use taxable accounts strategically, not as your primary investment vehicle. Let me summarize the complete order. Step 1. Emergency fund. Start with $1,000. Step 2. Employer match. Contribute enough to get every dollar of free matching money. Step 3. High interest debt. Destroy credit cards and other high interest debt. Step 4. Full emergency fund. Build to 3 to 6 months of expenses. Step 5. Max out IRA. $7,000 per year, or $8,000 if 50 plus. Step 6. Max out HSA if eligible. $4,300 individual, $8,550 family. Step 7. Max out 401k, $23,500 per year, or $31,000 if 50 plus. Step 8. Taxable accounts after everything else is maxed. This is the order. This is the sequence. This is what actually builds wealth. Let me tell you about a woman named Christina. Christina started following this order when she was 26 years old. She earned $58,000 per year. She was not rich. She could not max out everything immediately. Year 1, she saved $1,000 for emergencies. She started contributing enough to get her employer match. Year 2, she paid off her $3,000 in credit card debt. She built her emergency fund to 1 month of expenses. Year 3, she finished her emergency fund at 3 months of expenses. She opened a Roth IRA and started contributing. Year 4, she maxed out her Roth IRA for the first time. Year 5, she started contributing to her HSA. She had switched to a high-deductible health plan. By year 8, Christina was maxing out her 401k, Roth IRA, and HSA every year. Christina is now 41 years old. 15 years of following the system. Her net worth, over $700,000. Christina never picked individual stocks. She never traded cryptocurrency. She never tried to time the market. She just followed the order, consistently, for 15 years. That is the power of doing things in the right sequence. If this order is so simple, why do most people mess it up? 3 reasons. Reason 1. Excitement saving an emergency fund is boring. Paying off debt is boring. Contributing to a 401k is boring. Buying Tesla stock is exciting. Trading cryptocurrency is exciting. Picking the next big winner is exciting. People skip the boring steps and jump to the exciting ones. They build walls before pouring foundations. Then they wonder why everything collapses. Reason 2. Impatience building wealth takes time. Following this order takes years, sometimes decades, to fully implement. People want to be rich now. They take shortcuts. They skip steps. They try to accelerate the process, but wealth does not work that way. It compounds over time. There are no shortcuts that actually work. Reason 3. Ignorance. Nobody teaches this in school. Most people have never seen the correct order written out clearly. They do not know about employer matching. They do not understand tax-advantaged accounts. They have never heard of an HSA, so they do whatever their coworker is doing, or whatever they saw on social media, or whatever feels right in the moment. Robert Kiyosaki writes about this in Rich Dad, Poor Dad. He says the rich teach their children about money. The poor and middle class do not. So each generation starts over, making the same mistakes. You do not have to make those mistakes. You now know the order. Let me return to Ryan and Timothy from the beginning. Remember, they earned the same salary. They started the same day. Ryan invested in the wrong order. He bought stocks while ignoring his employer match. He skipped the emergency fund. He carried credit card debt. 5 years later, Ryan has about $4,000 in net worth. Timothy invested in the right order. He built his emergency fund. He got every dollar of employer match. He paid off debt. He maxed out his IRA. 5 years later, Timothy has over $100,000 in net worth. Same income, same time frame, different sequence. The gap between them will only grow larger over time. In 10 years, Ryan might have $20,000. Timothy might have $300,000. In 20 years, the difference could be over $1 million. All because of order. Ramit Sethi calls this getting the big wins right. He says that small decisions, like skipping lattes, do not matter much. But big decisions, like the order of your investments, those change everything. You do not need to pick winning stocks. You do not need to time the market. You do not need to find the next cryptocurrency. You just need to follow the sequence. Emergency fund, employer match, debt elimination, full emergency fund IRA HSA, and Patrata Satuributh and taxable accounts. That is it. That is the system. It is not exciting. It is not glamorous. It will not make for interesting stories at parties. But it works, every time, for everyone who follows it. The choice is yours. You can chase excitement and end up like Ryan, or you can follow the order and end up like Timothy. Your future self is watching. Make them proud. Thank you for watching. If this video helped you understand the right order for investing, please share it with someone who needs to see it. Subscribe for more videos about building wealth the right way. I will see you in the next one.